why babies can recognize their mothers? Why when the mother leaves, the baby will cry? Or why when a baby is carried by someone he or she doesn't know, he or she will feel uncomfortable and cry loudly? Are you guys curious? Why? If that's so, let's listen to my discussion on attachment theory. But before that, let me introduce. Hello, my name is Rizanita Zulfarafa. I'm from psychology major in Mercubuan University, and this is my task for English for Psychology 1 course. Okay, first thing first, we have to know who came up with this theory, right? Yeah, his name is John Bowlby. John Bowlby is a psychiatrist from London, England, who was born in 1907. Bowlby studied psychology at Trinity College, Cambridge. After graduating from Cambridge, Bowlby volunteered at the school to gain experience and considering the goals from which he was inspired to become a child psychiatrist. And then he attended University College Hospital, majoring in psychiatry. In addition, he also studied at the British Psychoanalytic Institute. And then, during World War II in 1937, Bowlby became a psychiatrist for the army. In 1950, he became a mental health consultant for the World Health Organization and became the originator of the theory of attachment in 1958. And then, why John Bowlby used the attachment? Because he wanted to describe a child with an attachment figure. In this case, it means the mother or another substitute figure for the mother, such as a caregiver. This attachment theory from John Bowlby explains the relationship between children and parents, which begins with the attachment between mother and child. Okay, the second figure is Mary Ainsworth. Mary Ainsworth is an American-Canadian developmental psychologist born in Ohio, United States, 1913. Mary Ainsworth formulated the attachment theory of John Bowlby and brought it to her country in America in 1969. Okay, so the next question is, what exactly is attachment theory? Okay, according to John Bowlby, attachment theory is a relationship that is supported by past behavior attachment. Attachment behavior is a form of behavior that results from one's efforts to maintain closeness with others who are considered capable of providing protection and comfort from environmental threats, especially when they are feeling afraid, sick, and threatened. According to Bowlby, the feeling of being threatened arises because of the stimuli. First, stimuli in the form of something large, loud sound, comes suddenly and change quickly. Second is something foreign or unknown. Then, Mary Ainsworth. Mary Ainsworth completes John Bowlby's statement that the attachment of the emotional bond is formed by an individual with other individuals that are specific. According to Ainsworth, attachment behavior is behavior carried out by children to seek, increase, and maintain closeness and communicate with their attachment figures. This attachment behavior is not at all related to the need for food, but the need for a mother or her attachment figure to provide protection from threats in the environment. In line with that, Ainsworth mentioned there is a mechanism called the working model, or John Bowlby's terms called the internal working models. Okay. So, before we discussing the internal working model, we must first understand that there are two types of attachment figure. They are the main attachment figure and the substitute attachment figure. According to Bowlby, the internal working model and the attachment figure have a relationship to complement each other and describe each other's sides of the relationship. The internal working model is the result of continuous interpretation of experience and its interaction with attachment figures. To improve this internal working model, there are two factors. First, familiar. Familiar is repetitive interaction patterns tend to become habits automatically. And second is dyadic pattern. Dyadic pattern is reciprocal patterns tend to change individual patterns because the reciprocal expectation instruct each partner to interpret the behavior of the other party. Okay. After the previous discussion, we already know that what is attachment theory, what is figure of attachment, and what is the internal working model. Now we will discuss the attachment characteristic by John Bowlby. According to John Bowlby, there are 4 characteristics of attachment, namely, first, safe haven. Safe haven is a situation where children need protection and comfort because they feel threatened or afraid. For example, when a child is in an unfamiliar environment, he or she feels afraid and threatened by the strangers around him or her. Well, that's when the child needs the presence of his attachment figure to be able to provide protection and comfort for himself or herself when in a foreign environment. Okay. The second is secure base. Secure base is providing a sense of security and reliability from caregivers so that children dare to explore the world. Well, it can be said that this is an advantage stage of safe haven. If in a safe haven the child needs protection and comfort, then this stage is the stage where the attachment figure respond to the child's wishes. They provide protection and comfort to the child so that the child becomes confident to be able to explore his own environment without fear. For example, when there is a mother invites her child to go to her own house, this child has never visited her own house, so she feels that her own house is a foreign environment for her. She is afraid to do something there, but when the mother provides protection and comfort to the child believes that her mother will not leave her and begins to feel confident to explore her own house without fear. Okay, the third is proximity maintenance. Proximity maintenance is when the child desires to stay close to his or her attachment figure so that he or she can still feel safe and comfortable. If we return to the previous example, so when the child starts exploring her own house, she will not continue to explore forever, right? After she is satisfied with exploring, she will return to her attachment figure, or in this example, her mother, to make sure that her mother is still there watching her, so that the child still feels safe and comfortable. Fourth is separation distress or pressure due to separation. Separation distress is when the child is separated from his attachment figure. He will be angry and sad. Now, this is also an advanced stage from the previous stage. If, for example, when the child returns after exploring her own house and then suddenly her aunt picks her up, the child automatically starts crying because she thinks that this aunt is a stranger to her and starts to feel insecure because she was separated from her mother. John Bowlby also explained about separation anxiety. Separation anxiety is the result of his observation in infants and is also influenced by the theory of evolution in his observation of animal behavior. In his observation, John Bowlby performs 3 stages or levels of what he calls separation anxiety. First stage. The first stage is called the protest stage. This stage occurs when the mother or caregiver disappears from sight. The baby will cry, tantrum to others, and try to find her mother or his mother. The second stage is called despair. This stage is the result of the disappearance of the caregiver from sight. The baby will become passive, sad, silent, afraid, and looks indifferent. The last stage is a characteristic of a human that never occurs in an animal, namely detachment. During this stage, the baby will be detached from his or her emotions, both to others and to his own mother. If their mother returns, the baby will show a nonchalant attitude and reject it. So, when he or she was satisfied with being quiet and seeing his or her mother return, he or she didn't pay attention to her presence. It was his or her angry response that his or her mother had left him. Okay, next. Furthermore, Mary Ainsworth and her team conduct an experiment to prove attachment behavior by inserting a baby into an experimental room with environmental conditions that were foreign to the baby, aka the strange situation. Okay, this experiment was divided into three conditions. The first condition is when the baby is still with his mother and suddenly a stranger person enters the room. The second condition, the mother came out of the room and the baby was only with strangers in the room. The third condition, the baby is really left alone in the stranger room. Thus, three conditions are deliberately made to see the level of attachment of the baby to his mother. Based on experiment, three responses and one additional response were obtained from the baby. First, secure attachment. The baby is disturbed by the presence of the stranger when his mother leaves and is happy again when she or he sees his or her mother back. That is, this baby allows the mother to go away for a while and sure that the mother will return. Babies who have this trait are cooperative babies and have a stable emotional level. Babies with this condition are babies who have an attachment with a pattern of relationship and very good quality. Second is avoided attachment. When the mother is gone, the baby rarely cries and is indifferent when the mother returns. They tend to be angry, so it's hard to know what this baby really wants. Children who have this type of attachment usually have mothers who are less even insensitive to the signal given by the baby in various situations. Third is ambivalent attachment. When the mother left, the baby felt very sad. Even when the mother returned, the baby still cried. It can be said that babies with this type of attachment have no desire to explore the environment. Babies with this type of attachment tend to continue to feel anxious about being abandoned by their mother again and feel disappointed when the mother actually leaves them. When the mother returns, the baby immediately approaches the mother with the opposite reaction. Namely, the baby kick and scream at his mother. Babies with this type of attachment tend to have problems with their attachment figures, in this case, the mother. And last but not least is disorganized or disoriented attachment. This baby has inconsistent and conflicting behavior patterns. They were happy and welcomed their mother back, but after that they suddenly went away from her mother. They look scared and confused. This type of attachment is usually found in infants whose mothers are less sensitive and intrusive. This type of attachment arises perhaps because there are parents who actually have inconsistent behavior towards their children. Okay, the conclusion of our back presentation is every child must have an attachment figure. Children will choose attachment figures that can provide a sense of security, comfort, and protection for themselves. If the prospective attachment figure doesn't meet the requirements to become an attachment figure, then he or she cannot become the main attachment figure. Okay, thank you so much for you guys' attention. Yeah. Bye bye. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.